Hello, welcome to my podcast. My name is Aníbal Ramirez Mateo, and I am currently a first generation college student at Bellingham University, residing in Miller Hall, where we also have a first generation student program. I'm here with.
My name is Jeremy. I'm the RA for the first generation 4, and I was also part of the first gen for last year as a freshman.
So my topic is about first generation college students' experiences in college, or as well, more specifically on if they feel valued and if they face any mental health struggles, which we know mental health has been a large topic over the past recent years. And being first generation as well, I personally felt like there are more opportunities for students to struggle more because they can't necessarily relate to their peers. So this is going to be more like a conversation between me and Jeremy. I'm going to stop staring at the camera. This is going to be a conversation between me and Jeremy, but I'm just going to be asking him questions about his opinion and how he feels college, if this college specifically, or if colleges are actually adopting and really making sure they integrate their first generation college students into their schools properly. So with the first question of the night, Jeremy, how do you feel guilt affects first generation college students' willingness to seek help? I will share, like, for me, I feel like guilt is something that I hold in my heart because I know that my family wasn't able to necessarily achieve the college dream, at least my mom specifically. Being an immigrant from Venezuela and the Dominican Republic, she never thought about pursuing college because she couldn't afford it. And she didn't even finish high school. But for me, I know that I've made it past, obviously, elementary school, then high school, and now college. I feel like in my heart, like I'm kind of doing it for her, but at the same time, I feel bad because she doesn't have the same opportunities. But like, the question is, do you feel guilt is the willingness for others to seek help? Because I personally never really sought help, and I would take my battles on my own in college and like, or even in high school to get to this point. And when I was struggling, I would thug it out. And if I want to really think about it, thugging it out did get me here. So maybe I did do something right, but.
You know, it's an interesting question. For me personally, I always knew where I came from, and the expectation of me was to do a lot better in terms of academic success than my parents. And I feel as if guilt wasn't really that big of a factor. I believe that instead of like feeling that guilt, I kind of use it more as like a motivation aspect, because I felt as if I didn't get to a certain point, like at college, just to get to the college level, it would be an ultimate like failure for me. And so I always thought to myself that my parents did all this work helping me with all these different resources and just pushing me to be my absolute best. If I didn't do that with myself, that's the only little bit of guilt that I feel. I feel as if like if I fail and let them down for everything that they've done for me, I think that's the biggest thing. But like I said, I didn't really think of it in that aspect. I thought of it as more as like motivation, to keep me going and to keep using that as potentially something to just grind things out when they get really difficult, especially in college.
I see your view with that. So with even guilt being part of the conversation, do you feel like you felt that you had to succeed because of pressure, or just overall knowing the opportunities that you were given weren't the same for other members of your family?
Pressure is a big thing. I think especially, one thing in the Latin community is, a lot of parents are very hesitant to let go of their students, or their children, to out-of-state colleges, and it's like really the first time for a lot of first generation students where they're apart from their families, and it's a risk, because at the end of the day, nothing is guaranteed in college. You go there, you learn, but you ultimately do a lot of work to get a job, and so there is a numerous amounts of things that are pressuring you and to do your absolute best, but also like your parents won't ever pressure you to be like, or will ever see you as a failure. They'll always support you no matter what. But at the end of the day, when push comes to shove, at the end of 4 years, it's like, what will you define as success? Will you define it as, you know what, I had fun and I learned things about life, I learned about myself? Great, that's great. But was that the point of college, or was it for you in order to get a job, build a career, establish yourself, and then position yourself for betterment in the future?
I definitely agree with that. I know, at least for my family, my mom, like I mentioned, she wasn't able to go to college, and she didn't finish her high school education. But my sister, who's older than me, she's 22, she just graduated from Harvard. So I want to speak on like more of the pressure aspect. Acknowledging that my sister got into a top competitive school in Boston, BLS. It's highly ranked in the country as well as a public school. And me going to one of the 3 other ranked schools, but not as competitive and not as, I want to say, pipeline-y, if that's even a word, to getting to a school like Harvard.
Right.
Like, comparison and pressure was definitely something I was feeling. I was feeling that a ton, and that's probably why I felt like I had that guilt of not succeeding and not asking questions and feeling like, well, let me stay in my bubble but still get my things done.
Right.
I was able to join programs though, but I never like really truly expressed like my emotions, because even in Latino households, at least I can speak for myself, my mom is a very caring person, my family's very caring, but I'm never expressing like my true emotions and stuff like that, because I feel like that's my personal battles. I'm really here to make sure I succeed for my family, because in a way I had to make sure they live through me, since my mom wasn't able to do what she wanted to do with her life.
Right. Yeah. And I could definitely resonate with that. Having an older brother as well, he also had a really good success at college, although it wasn't necessarily because he went to a better school. But you know, he kind of laid out the game plan and the blueprint of how we should do it. And if we didn't reach that level, you know, there was pressure to, if not reach it, surpass it.
In my research, I found that a lot of times college students do feel that pressure, and that pressure they take within themselves. So then they have mental health effects. They're not expressing themselves like they truly should be doing in college, because at the end of the day, college is a time for you to network, to make sure that you're ready to prepare yourself for your future. And if you're in a bubble all 4 years, you're not going to understand what it's like to be in an environment where you're going to have opportunities come to you. You might not take advantage of that in the workforce. So my question leading into that is, do you feel like these institutions are focusing on first generation college students in general, or are they just focusing on students that come in? Because obviously our backgrounds as first generation students is gonna be necessarily completely different than someone that's had legacy, that's had family going to institutions, or just have college in their lives. Like, I didn't know what FAFSA was. My sister found out what FAFSA was, and she helped me do FAFSA. But what about those people that didn't have anybody else that could have taught them about FAFSA, having immigrant parents that don't even speak English? So my question is, are colleges actually helping first generation college students? At least for Bentley, I'll say yes, because we do have a first generation college student. But do you feel like all universities should kind of adopt what Bentley's been doing?
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, right, a lot of these universities are PWIs, and you know, the small percentage of other ethnicities and other races that come into these universities, you know, do play a big role. They not only does Bentley do a good job of acclimating a good amount, but also making it manageable for, you know, it's not going to be perfect for everybody. It's not going to be, you can't help everybody the same way. So I think Bentley does a good job in terms of, you know, trying to make it a lot more inviting and also attainable financially, and also just being welcoming here. And I think one of the biggest things that I hope to see with like the other institutions that we do is, you know, there really is no point where I felt as if, or I've seen and witnessed anything of any type of like not exclusion when it comes to other races or ethnicities. There isn't like this thing where it's like we're socially divided into groups, or certain people think this way about X and Y and Z, and which is a real thing in the real world. But here at this campus specifically, you know, it's not present. I think everybody gets along with each other, even if we don't know each other that well. Like, we still have that mutual respect. And so I think Bentley does a really good job in emphasizing that point of respect and emphasizing that invitation welcome. You know, had other universities done the same thing, you know, maybe it'd be, you know, a little bit of a better world that we live in, especially for college students. But in terms of like the first gen perspective, I do believe they've done a really good job in trying to make it more like inviting for us to come to a PWA.
I agree with that. I definitely feel that colleges are taking the right step, like Bentley, like we're speaking about, including first generation college students and making sure that they feel valued and recognized, because at the end of the day, they are the first for their families to make a history. You want to make sure the history that they're going to set for the future generations of family and is going to be a good milestone for them to actually achieve as well. So thank you for discussing with me today. This is a topic that I take very dear because we're first generation. This is a perfect topic for me. And then mental health is something that I know isn't talked about enough, at least in men. And I really hope that whoever's watching this or whoever's listening to us speak can resonate in some way and feel valued and know that pressure makes diamonds.